you know, get your ears open for this one. Islam. So without further ado, I'm gonna bring our Grand Sheik on, and we're gonna get right down to it. Islam. Grand Sheik, you there?
Islam's
Islam, peace.
peace. First I give praise to Allah. I give honors to all divine prophets, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, and Confucius. I give honors to the last prophet in this day and time, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I give honors to the reincarnated prophet, Brother John Givens L. I give honors to Grand Sheik Richardson Dingle-EL, Prophet Noble Drew in the third form. I give honors to Supreme Grand Sheik Timothy Golden Dingle-EL hyphen Noble Drew Ali. I give honors to Grand Sheik Sidney Rawson L. And I give honors to the Supreme Council. I give honors to the Moorish flag. I give honors to the American flag. This is Grand Sheik KU said Bay. Peace. Um, I'm gonna do a little demonstration because I've realized and we knew this for years that a lot of Moors got a problem with Grand Sheik Richardson Dingle-EL, Grand Sheik Timothy Dingle-EL. And you know, one thing we gotta understand is that, you know, all Moors have their portion of this 360 degrees, what we call a pie. And sometimes instead of attacking someone, you need to know that particular Moor's demonstration, and it's a confusion amongst the Moors with the demonstration of Grand Sheik Timothy Dingle El hyphen Noble Drew Ali. And y'all see that, a lot of us Moors, we read out the resurrection book, and for some of you Moors, y'all may think it's just a regular book, or we got some type of fascination with this book, and we make this book more than what it really is, and don't really see the value of it. So some of y'all got the book, I like the cover, it look real nice, but y'all not really diving into the book. This is more than just a book. It's way deeper than that. And I'm gonna explain how deep this book is so y'all could get an understanding of why you need to study this book, know this book, and master this book, and come around, Moorish masters who could give you an understanding of this book, because it's way more than just a book when you dive into it. So I'm gonna ask Amor to be a reader. I got anybody volunteer to read from the Resurrection book?
Islam, Sheik.
Peace. So even though we read from it earlier, I would like for you to read from page 69. If you can.
Islam. Yeah. Islam, first I rise to my highest height, giving proper praise to Father God Allah. Give honor to all prophets, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Confucius, and the prophet in these last days and time, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Greet each and every one of you in peace. My name is Jeffrey. Peace. Coming out the resurrection, page 69. Special,
I'm,
special,
I may stop you sometime,
no problem. I got you. Special attention to all L's and Bays. Greetings. If you have a nationality and identification card in your possession and not attending any Moorish services, it is to your best interest that you do so. If you fail to do so, your nationality card is void. It is useless to talk Islamism or Moorish to anybody. You will
all
be
right,
out of.
wait 1 second. So you see here, he talks about your nationality identification card. This is very key because our national identification card appears to be different coming from our body of Moors. I said appears to be different, and I'm gonna get into that. Keep on going.
It is useless to talk. Oh, you will be out of order until you obey the divine law. Read Act 7 in the Moorish questionnaire and divine constitution. Let it be he or she, as I have power invested in my hands, and I am enforcing the law to save the Moorish nation, etc. It will be done under love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice.
Islam. So do y'all Moors know who's this speaking? Anybody could take a shot at it. Who's speaking in this
Islam,
bill?
Timothy, Dingle-El.
That's right, brother Tyler L. So yeah, this is Grand Sheik Timothy Dingle-El speaking. So listen to what the words he's saying, because these words get Moors riled up. Continue, brother Jeff.
It is my will that wherever a Moorish Science Temple of America is established or already been established under the old author, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, a resurrection Moorish Science Temple of America Incorporated charter must be displayed in the temple.
Stop
If
right
not,
there. Stop right there. Now it says a Moorish Science Temple of America Inc. A resurrection Moorish Science Temple of America Inc. charter must be displayed in the temple. Now, how dare Timothy Dingle-El has his own charter that he said must be displayed in the temple? Who's him? Who's Timothy Dingle-El to have the nerve to say this? Why the Moors ain't using the Prophet's charter? This is a question we have to ask yourself, Moors, because if you go to another Moorish Science Temple of America, you're gonna see what appears to be a different charter in their temple than our temple. And they might come to our temple and say, that's not the Prophet's charter right there. Why these Moors got this charter up? So be mindful that our nationality card appears to be different than all the other Moors. And now Timothy Dingle-El has the nerve to say that a Moorish Science Temple of America Inc. resurrection charter must be displayed. So this will appear to the Moors that this is his own charter that he created. So it appears that Grand Sheik Timothy Dingle-El and his body of Moors are out of order because we appear to have a different nationality card. We appear to have a whole different charter. And now he's saying that you have to have his charter to be in your temple for your temple to be right and exact. You know, this is like haram and blasphemy to Moors. So you got to get in these Moors' mind frame when they read this or hear this, how they looking at this perspective. Continue.
if not, that temple will be out of order as far as copyrighted statutory registration is concerned. If any Moorish Science Temple of America Incorporated being established or already established do not want to honor the resurrection charter, it will be to your best interest that you, he or she, stop using Moorish in any form. I mean, you can use everything but Moorish that you must give up under the principle of love.
Wait a minute. Y'all hear what you hear what Grand Sheik Timothy Dingle-El is saying? He's telling the Moors, if you don't honor a resurrection charter, it would be in your best interest, that of you, he or she, to stop using Moorish. Now imagine you a Moor from a different body of Moors, and he comes and tells you this, or you read this. You'll think that this Moor's out of his mind. He has the nerve to tell you that to stop using Moorish. That's a bold statement. Continue.
If any members or officers, sheiks or sheikesses, have established a group in various locations teaching Islamism, etc., in the name of Noble Drew Ali, it is necessary that that individual present his system before the one who have statutory copyright registration on Moorish in a book form for approval. Read Act 1 of the Additional Law and Act 1 of the Divine Constitution of the Moorish Science Temple of America Incorporated. In the old era of time, the Prophet Noble Drew Ali wore two types of fez, one red and the other black. In this new era of time, I will wear the same two fez at times. Also, I will make an addition. I will wear at times red, green, white, and black fezzes. Red represents the Moorish flag. Green represents the green star in the center. White represents the purity, the revealer of the light. And black, according to science, means death. Let this be reminder to all elves and bays that the contents of this book is the supreme law that was prophesied that will be handed down later.
Hang on. Now he said that let this be a reminder to all elves and bays that the contents of this book is a supreme law that was prophesied. So he's saying that the contents in this book is the supreme law. So you mean remember earlier I said that some of us think that this book, the resurrection book, More Sons of America Inc., The Truth, Be Yourself, and Not No One Else is a regular book. But according to Grand Sheik Timothy Dingle-Noble Jew Ali, he says that the contents in this book is the supreme law. Some of you Moorish masters, when you hear the word supreme law, you will automatically, if you're a constitutional person, you'll already know where it's going to, what it means supreme law. Keep on going.
If a charter is granted, the Grand Sheik or head of temple must bring his or her charter to the Supreme Grand Resurrector Assembly every 3 years for a re-examination. Otherwise,
Okay.
the charter.
All right, yeah, go. Otherwise, the charter.
Otherwise, the charter is void. Period.
Okay. All right. So, in our body, Moors, we do not convene every October for the convention. We convene every 3.5 years, and that's when your charter would be re-examined, or it be voided. You understand? Continue.
You may wonder why I am so long time applying for statutory copyright registration. The answer is this: I didn't have the money at that time. I didn't want to use unlawful money.
What that mean is that at the time, a lot of Moors was dealing in things that he didn't want to take the money that they had at that time. Continue.
You Moorish masters know what I mean. The slow way is the best way. Chapter 2, Holy Quran of Moorish Science Temple of America. Keep your trust in Allah at all times, and remember that any nationality or bound freeman, etc., is free to obtain a copy at expense. Peace always. May Allah, the God of love, bless you. The contents of what was placed in the hands of the Assistant Secretary of Defense Civilian Counselor is as follows. Moorish Science Temple of America, Incorporated, Home Office, 113-259 South Eberhart Avenue, Chicago, Illinois. We, the Grand Body of the Moorish Science Temple of America, July 10, 1970. Mr. James C. Evans, whom we given the name Brother James C. Evans L., Assistant Secretary of Defense, to use whatever means necessary to enforce the 6th Act of our Constitution of the Moorish Science Temple of America, according to the divine laws, Jeremiah 34th chapter, 8 and 9 verses. A, carry out the true 13th Amendment and the 20 sections to the Constitution of the United States.
That's good, more. That's good. So, if you Moors read this page 69, you will assume that, well, not assume, but you'll see that Grand Sheik Timothy Dingle-Noble Jew Ali is claiming to have authority over the movement. And if you don't obtain a resurrection More Sons of America charter, that you are actually out of line. He said this was the supreme law, right? So, Brother Jeff, go to page 24.
I'm on it.
And start where it says, in the code of this, and read that.
The code is the code is the you said in the code?
No, the code is this, yeah.
Okay. All right. The code is this. Please look up in the left-hand corner of our authority form 1099. You will find a word in parentheses. You was taught in school that anything in parentheses was something special. The word in the parentheses on Drew Ali's form is copy. If you will look in Drew Ali's Quran or Moorish Science Temple of America, page 3, you will find a word right.
Okay, wait a minute. So he's saying anything in parentheses mean that is important, and you will see in the form is copy. In the Moorish Quran, you'll see the word right. When you put that together, what is that, Moors?
Copyright.
Continue.
If you will look, take the word copy and put it in front of the right, and it will form a complete word, namely copyright. You master Moorish scientists can figure the rest with a little common sense. If you masters still think my mind is jumping time, then you masters are the ones of spirit in another form that said, Jesus' mind was jumping time, but there was one. A tiller of the soil didn't think so. He loved the words justice. He loved the words justice spoke. Read 10th chapter of the Holy Quran.
So you see right here, the master, Grand Sheik, Supreme Grand Sheik Timothy Dingle-El, by him doing the studying, when he looked at our authority in the Moorish Quran, he saw that it was a word copy and write. So copyright came on the Moor's mind. Copyright. Continue.
One thing I don't understand, I have talked with few masters that I have sit that have sit under the master Noble Drew Ali in 1926, 1927, and 1928. Some of you were made master scientists under him. Why didn't he or she protect his works by not allowing his works to fall in public domain?
Wait a minute. Y'all hear this? He said, why didn't he or she protect his works that allow his works to fall in public domain? The key word here is public domain and copyright. Y'all gotta keep this on your minds, Moors. Copyright and public domain. Continue.
Study the law on copyright, and you will know what I mean. When you allow the works of the old author to fall into public domain, it endangers the whole Moorish movement. Anyone who takes the works out of public domain will possess the same authority granted to Noble Drew Ali in 1927.
All right, thank you. We're gonna keep that like that.
Islam.
Islam. So according to Supreme Grand Resurrector, Grand Sheik Timothy Dingle-El Noble Drew Ali, he's saying that the Prophet Noble Drew Ali's works fell in public domain. So if it fell in public domain, that means that anybody could take the Prophet's works and use it for themselves. That means even the European could take his works and use it for themselves. So the Moors, they left the Prophet's works not protected. So the master had to obtain copyright statutory jurisdiction over the Prophet Noble Drew Ali's works. Now, the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, when you read the Moorish Quran, it says copyright, it says 1927. That was what they call a common law copyright. And a common law copyright, it only lasts to 28 years. So that means from 1927, 20 years, about 1955, 1956. I'm not Muhammad, my math be off, but that means it expired. That means it fell in public domain. So the master, Grand Sheik Timothy Dingle-El, he saw that this was in public domain, and he wanted to protect the Prophet's works. So now we're gonna read something. The works in public domain. It says any work that is not protected by copyright is said to be in public domain. That includes works in which its copyright was lost, works in which the copyright expire, and works authored or owned by the federal government. Public domain means that it says each work belonging to the public as a whole. Anyone is free to use them any way she wishes without asking anyone's permission. So when the Moors did not protect the prophet's works and it fell in public domain, it could be used by anyone's permission. So the Grand Sheik, Timothy Golden Dingle-El, he put the prophet's works in the book called The Resurrection. This is why you have excerpts of the Moorish Quran, the prophet's literature, far as like the warning and so forth, the 101s, and the charter, the nationality card and so forth. Because when he put it into the book and he copyrighted the book, he have copyright jurisdiction over the prophet's works. Islam. So what is copyright? Copyright is a legal device to provide the creator of a work's art or literature or the works that conveys information and ideas, the right to control how the works is used. Copyright Act, 1976. The federal law provides the copyright protection granted authority of intellectual and artworks. So when he put these works into the resurrection book and he copywritten it, he gained copyright protection over the prophet's works. Are y'all Moors following me? I don't want to be tricky. So what's the supreme law of the land in the United States of America?
Constitution.
So can you give me Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution?
Article 1, Section 8, subsection 8, right? 888. I mean 1888. It's to promote the progress of science and useful arts by securing for limited times to authors and inventors the exclusive right to their respective writings and discoveries.
It's long. So that means that copyright is federal. So therefore now the Resurrection of More Scientific of America Charter is federal because the More Scientific of America Charter by the Prophet was on a state level, but when the Supreme Grand Sheik Timothy Golden Dingle-El did a copyright under Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution, he made it federal. So now it has federal protection. That's why he's saying that you have to have the Resurrection of More Scientific of America Charter in your temple because now you get federal protection under copyright statutory jurisdiction or copyright laws. So the resurrection book is just not a normal book. It's a supreme law because it's federal, it's copywritten, it's under copyright law, in which the prophet's right, the prophet Noble Judy, the old founder, his works are in it, was given a copyright protection because it was before that it was in public domain for anybody use. And when it went into the resurrection book, now it became copywritten and has the protection under Timothy Golden Dingle-El - Noble Drew Ali. Now, this book was copywritten or published in 1978. If you read in the book, the works published before 1978, it says, until 1978, all works published in the United States had contained a valid copyright notice to be protected by copyright. Failure to provide this notice resulted in the loss of copyright in the works. That is, the works have injected into the public domain, meaning that anyone could copy or otherwise use it without the author's permission. This was work published before 1978. That's why the Grand Sheik Timothy Dingle Noble Jew Ali, he published this right in 1978. Because work before that was put into public domain. Now, we're going to go to a page in the resurrection. Let me find it more. Am I talking fast? Are y'all following me, most?
Now you working, Grand Sheik.
You working?
Because see, you know, a lot of us Moors think we smarter than these masters that came before. Was the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, Grand Sheik Richardson Dingle-El, Grand Sheik Timothy Dingle-El, and we have the supreme law, but we not teaching from the supreme law because we think we got something bigger than what they already brought us. But we have to, what we do, we have to expound on the supreme law that we got from them. Now, Brother Jeff, go to page 138.
Second.
And I want you to read the nationality card.
Islam, page 138 in the resurrection. Islam, unity, Allah. This is your nationality and identification card for the Moorish Sun Temple of America and birthrights for the Moorish Americans, etc. We honor all the divine prophets, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Confucius, and Jonah, etc. May the blessings of the God.
Wait 1 second. Now, this is the problem that Moors have, because the Grand Sheik Supreme Resurrector, Timothy Golden Dingle Noble Drew Ali, he added Jonah to the nationality card, which was not there. But when you read the nationality card that the prophet gave, he said, we honor all divine prophets. Is according to the biblical record, was Jonah a prophet?
Sure was.
So if we honor all divine prophets and he adds the name Jonah, what's the problem? Because he's a part of the prophets. But there's a degree in the Jonah degree, which I'm gonna go to in a minute. But he said he honored all divine prophets and he adds Jonah to that degree. And there's a reason for that. Remember, the prophets' works fell in public domain. That means it could be used by anyone, right? Continue to read the nationality card more, and I'm gonna get into the signs.
Islam. May the blessings of the God, our Father, Allah, be upon you that carry this card. I do hereby declare that you are a Muslim under the divine laws of the Holy Quran of Mecca. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. I am a citizen of the U.S.A. Noble Drew Ali, Prophet, our authority, Chicago, Illinois, Cook County, copybook 5521, page 579, SS number 1010-5905, form number 1099. Islam.
Islam. Now, and on the national card says ETC. It says we honor all divine prophets, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Confucius, Jonah, ETC. ETC meaning etc., meaning that, that includes other prophets as well. So if a person have a problem with the prophet Jonah being mentioned, we already recognize and honor all divine prophets. But let's go back to public domain, or when you have published works, right? So, for instance, I'm gonna use an example. It may be fictional, but it's an example for you to understand. So, Bernard self-published his poetry collection in 1977. He knew nothing about copyright laws and failed to provide a copyright notice on his works. Sally found a copy of the collection in the used bookstore in 2000 and decided to include several of Bernard's poems in a compilation of modern American poetry. Since this book did not contain copyright notice, it is considered to be in public domain, and Sally may reproduce all of the parts of it without Bernard's permission. So when a book or something comes in public domain and it fails to have copyright protection, you could use it. For instance, if you have a book and it falls, like for instance, you could write a book about Harry Potter, right? And then say if Harry Potter falls a public domain, you could still use the story, but because it could be used by anyone, you could add to the Harry Potter book because it already fell a public domain. So you could add to it to increase onto the story. So the reason the Supreme Grand Sheik he added Jonah on a lawful note is because when it fell in public domain, that nationality card could be used by anyone. So we add Jonah to the nationality card and copywritten it. It had copyright protection. Now it can't be used in the public because the old card could be used publicly because it's a public domain. So we add Jonah on it. It was lawful because now it was copywritten and had protection over it because the old card didn't have no protection over it because it was a public domain. So you could add to any type of works that was in public domain. Because if he didn't add Jonah to the card, then it could be still used by anyone on a lawful level. Are y'all following me, Moors?
Islam, I'm definitely following you, Grand Sheik. They do the
Islam
same thing
makes
with
sense.
music.
All right, let's have a little conversation. Talk to me so I can understand y'all getting this.
Yeah, Islam Sheik is Dingle-EL. Um, like music, right? If you play music on the background on social media, if somebody owns it, they'll flag it. They'll cut that video short. So you can't use other people's stuff that's copywritten. Before you could do that, but now there's a big thing right now. They'll block it because somebody else owns it. Islam.
Yeah, but that's definitely right. But what I'm explaining right now is that our nationality card says Jonah on it, which more have a problem with it, but they're not understanding that the nationality card of Prophet, his literary work, it fell in public domain, which could be used by anyone. And when something from a public domain, you can use it and you can add to it and then copyright it and have copyright protection over it according to the works of public the works are published before the works when it's being published. So on a lawful level, he added the name Jonah to the nationality card and then had it copywritten in the book so it cannot be used by the public because the prophet's card can be used publicly. That's why he added the term Jonah to the card. It was a lawful move that was very smart. Talk to me, Moors. Let me know if y'all getting this.
Islam.
Let me. Okay.
Islam. So what you're saying is that the card that the prophet brought fell into public domain because, as stated, he asked, why was this able to be done? So there had to be a distinction made from the old card with the new card that was underneath copyright statutory registration.
Thank you, Moor. So a person who's emotional is like, oh, he added Jonah to the card. That's not the prophet card. But there are points. One point, we honor all divine prophets. According to the biblical record, Jonah was a prophet. So we honor all divine prophets. We already honor Jonah already. Second point, it says ETC, meaning etc., meaning that it's various other prophets that we acknowledge, but we just can't mention all of them on a card. The third point, on a lawful level, since the nationality card fell in public domain, it can be used by anybody. When he added the name Jonah to the card and put copyright authority over it, Now that card cannot be used by anybody in public. It's not for public use like the old card was. Islam.
Islam.
Now, the Jonah degree on the biblical record, when you study it, is that the great God Allah wanted him to go to Nineveh and to warn them of their wicked ways. But he didn't want to go to Nineveh. He wanted to go to Tarshish. And when he got on the ship to go to Tarshish, the great God Allah, brought, terror to the ship to the point that the people on the ship was afraid. And they ended up throwing Jonah over, and he was swallowed by a whale. And then, eventually went to Nineveh to demonstrate that that city was going to be destroyed. But there was a key word that he said is the reason that the Supreme Grand Resurrector particularly chose Jonah to be on the card besides any other prophet. And I need a more to go into the biblical record to the book of Jonah, chapter 1, verse 9.
I'm on it. Said chapter 1, verse 9.
Yeah.
Coming out the knock.
No, give me the King James, brother. Give me the King James.
Oh, King James? Okay, no problem. I got you. 1 second.
If anybody got the King James, I don't want to make this too complicated.
Yeah, I got the King James. 1 second.
Islam. I got you.
Islam.
Islam.
Yeah.
King James version.
Anybody got the King James available?
This is the book of
To
Jonah.
help the brother out if you don't got it.
Islam, can you hear me?
Yeah, Sheik Muhammad got a grand.
Wait 1 second, but I can't hear you. Let me fix my phone. Islam?
Islam.
Okay, yeah. So go now, more.
Islam. King James version. The book of Jonah, 1st chapter, 9th verse. And he said unto him, I am an Hebrew, and I fear the
Say
Lord.
that again. Wait, say that again, more.
Islam. And he said unto them, I am an Hebrew, and I fear the Lord.
Now, the term Hebrew is derived from Eber, which was the descendants of the Hebrews. That was his descent name. So Jonah he's demonstrating nationality. Islam. So this is why he's put on the nationality card, because he's telling them, I am a Hebrew. He is demonstrating his national descent. And this is why the master, Grand Sheik Timothy Dingle-EL Noble Drew Ali, decided to put Jonah on the nationality card, because he was demonstrating his national descent. From him being a descendant of Eber, which is the Hebrew, what means to cross over. You could tell you more. You could start again and read the whole thing.
Islam. King James version, book of Jonah, 1st chapter, 9th verse. And he said unto them, I am an Hebrew, and I fear the Lord, the God of heaven, which hath made the sea and the dry land. Islam.
Islam. So the reason the Supreme Grand Sheik Timothy Golden Dingle-El Noble Drew Ali decided to put Jonah on the card, because he was demonstrating his nationality, and that's a nationality card. So now we have points that we could make when it comes to our nationality card, that we honor all divine prophets, which is Jonah was a prophet because he was prophesizing in that book that never was going to be destroyed. The prophet says ETC, meaning that it was other prophets that he didn't put on the card. We know from a lawful level that the nationality card of the prophet fell in public domain. It could be used by anyone. So when the Supreme Grand Sheik Timothy Dingle-El, he added Jonah to the nationality card and copywritten it, he hit a copyright protection and made it federal. And he demonstrated Jonah because when you read that particular verse, Jonah was demonstrating his national descent. Islam.
It's long.
All right. So we have to understand is that when you read the resurrection book and you see when Grand Sheik Timothy Dingle-El, he puts the divine constitution and bylaws in the book, the nationality card in the book. He puts the questionnaire in the book, the Moorish Quran in the book, the charter in the book. He copyrights it. Now he protects the works of the prophet, which gives him authority on a federal level. Islam. So we're gonna go to let's go to page 10. That's what I want. Yeah. Let's go to page 10 and read until somebody.
To somebody,
Yeah, it says until somebody on page 10.
I got it. Islam, page 10, coming out the resurrection. Until somebody can produce a search report on the works of Noble Drew Ali before June 12, 1974, from the Copyright Office, Library of Congress, Washington, D.C., 20559. I, Timothy Dingle-El, Supreme Grand Resurrection, do hereby declare that I am the new author of the works of Noble Drew Ali. My name will be Timothy Dingle-El, Noble Drew Ali, author and founder of the Moorish movement known as the Moorish Science Temple of America Incorporated.
Now, are you understanding now, Moors? He says, I Timothy Dingle-El, the Supreme Grand Resurrection, do hereby declare that I am the new author of the works of Noble Drew Ali. See, the old author's works fell in public domain, had no protection over it. So he took the old author's work because when you study copyright law, when something falls in public domain, you cannot own it. So that's why he couldn't copyright the works because it fell in public domain. But what you could do, like I stated before, you can take the works and you could add to the works, as long as in accord with the works, and then copyright it. So, like for instance, you can watch a movie like Annie. That remember the orphan girl that we watched as a little kid. She was a little European with red hair, and then today they have a new Annie, and they could add to the story of Annie, but it's still the story of Annie. That's if it was fell in public domain, they could add to the story, and they have copyright over it. Islam. So he says, and my name will be Timothy Dingle-El, Noble Drew Ali. Now, this is where the Moors get all emotional with. Noble Drew Ali is a title name. I'm not going to go deep into the degrees of that title name because some things are sacred and not secret. And when those who are able to get those degrees will get those degrees. But these Moorish masters that come from our body and out of our and from other bodies understand those degrees of that title name, Noble Drew Ali, but they choose not to tell their members and have their members bickering and fighting over that title name, and they know what that title name really means. It's a title name, like president, like Christ. These are title names. Islam. Continue reading. It is my desire.
Islam. It is my desire to obtain copyright protection on the works of the old author, Noble Drew Ali, except the works that have fallen in public domain since June 12, 1974. It is my desire to carry out the works of our old author without interference from anyone except the courts of the land, or any official from the copyright office. If anyone receives this pamphlet and don't get a clean picture, a clear picture of, or clean picture or a clear picture or a clear understanding, please don't hesitate to contact the author. I know he will give you a clear picture. Sometimes when an author creates, he must make his thoughts brief. Islam.
So when you have like copyright registration in the United States Copyright Office makes your copyright a matter of public record and provides a number of important advantage. Somebody's making a lot of noise, man.
Bless me. Sorry.
A matter of public record and provided a number of importance. It is even necessary to go to court to enforce it. To register a work, you must fill out a registration form and deposit a copy of your works with the Copyright Office. So you have what they call you have to go through this process. Now, I'm gonna go into something more. The master, Grand Sheik Timothy Dingle-EL, he filled out a form, and the form is called a TX form. And I want to get into what is a TX form and what's the purpose of a TX form. See, he was a master, and one of the masters, he gave us a master word, a master degree. He told us TX form, and we never heard of that before. We didn't know what that was. And I'm looking for what I wrote about it. Now, if you have copyright authority over a particular works, and you have a TX form, it's like you can pass the copyright authority to those who you put in the position to have copyright authority after you transcend or you decease, and you become what they call a executor or executorist, what makes you the executor of a will. So the TX form, which is connected to the copyright, gives you the authority to pass down your estate to those who has the copyright authority over your works. Like for instance, if I have a copyright of anything and I fill out a TX form, I could put Amir Talib L as after me, he inherit the copyright authority over the works. And he could put, Muhammad Bey and so forth. And that's how you would have the TX form. It gives you the authority to pass down the works. So this TX form, according to my knowledge, was given to the Grand Sheikas Louise Dingle-El hyphen Noble Jew Ali. That means that she has copyright authority over the prophet's works. And our charter, which is the Resurrection Most Sons of America charter, according to the Constitution, it makes it all federal. Islam, everybody understanding me?
Islam.
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 Ask some questions and I could try to answer it to the best of my ability. But we as Moors who's under the Supreme Grand Resurrection, Grand Sheik Timothy Golden Dingle-El, the masters told us you got to study copyright. So when the masters told us to study copyright, I study copyright. I got something written here about the TX phone that's very important. But any more could kind of damn, to somebody, any more could kind of repeat back to me, they understanding what I'm talking about, so I can know that I'm making sense. Reiterate.
Islam.
Islam.
This is brother Taylor L. I'm gonna take a stab at it. When the Grand Sheik, the Supreme Grand Sheik, excuse me, Timothy Dingle-El, put the resurrection, when he put the resurrection charter into the book and copyrighted everything, and then when you just went over that degree of him naming himself the new author and founder of the temple. I'm looking at the 10x form right now, and it actually says something about authorship. So I think that's also coinciding to what he was also proclaiming, along with the new title of Noble Drew Ali, and holding that title as like, and it goes back into also what you was explaining about all of the other temples who are not using that our resurrection charter being out of order, because they're not federally recognized. They're using something that's out of order or out for everyone to use and misuse and abuse. Islam. With that, I say peace.
Islam. That was a great answer, Mo. This might ruffle up some more's feathers, but we not telling the Moors they got to get rid of their charter. That's why he said, you know, just have a resurrection more Sun Temple charter next to your charter to give it federal protection. So we're not telling Moors they got to get rid of their charter, anything of that nature. But we got to understand that all that stuff fell in public domain and can be used by anybody. But when it's
Islam.
Islam.
Can I ask you a question though?
Yeah.
You said that also it was passed down. Now, was it passed down to the grand body at that time up under the Supreme Grand Sheik, or was it passed down to the Moorish American National Divine Movement, and then they passed it down to the like, which way was it passed down? Is my question.
Yeah, it's passed down to the grand body.
Islam. Thank you.
Like we was taught that Noble Drew Ali's title is an office that the Supreme Grand Body sits in, or the Grand Council, and they act as the authority of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali because of the title. So it's 7 sheiks tried and true who sits in the council, who act as the prophet and hold that title.
Islam.
Islam. So it's not no one person who makes a decision. It'll be given to those Moors who sit in that position, in that office, and then they'll be voted upon, and then those decisions will be made that way. So it's not a dictatorship or anything of that nature.
Thank you, Grand Sheik.
Yeah, it's long. This is Sheik Dingle-El. If I'm not mistaken, there is a reference from the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the old author, pertaining to a Supreme Grand Council. Right? This wasn't something that just Moors just came up with. This was something that's referenced in the literature.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's also mentioned in the Prophet's literature. I wrote this whole thing down. Any other Moors wanna add on so I can see if you have like some type of understanding?
Islam, Grand Sheik. I was just reading this the the TX form, in that
Yeah,
part when you say it says title, right? The title is explaining how he was able to do and include um some of the old author's work to add on to what he was creating, and it says it all in the title, and they break it down, um, the specifically what you're allowed to do and what he did, and I noticed that even the picture on front of it is similar to the one-on-ones, so it's like a slight alteration, but it's new, but it has the old stuff in it,
yeah.
you know.
They giving it? Are they giving examples in what you got?
Well, I could read it. I could read it for you, and hopefully you could take it from there. But I read it. It says title, or it says previous or alternative titles. Complete this space if there are any additional titles for the work under which someone searching for the registration might be likely to look, or under which a document pertaining to the work might be recorded. Publication as a contribution. If the work being registered is a contribution to a periodical serial collection, give the title of the contribution in the title of this work, space. Then in the line headed publication as a contribution, give information about the collective work in which the contribution appeared. Islam.
Islam.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Go sheet.
Yeah, Islam. I was gonna say that's just pertaining to if you have other alternative names for your work, that's what those sections are for. And if you have it like in a collection or something like that, you list the name of the collection so that wherever your work is located, it could be protected. That's what that's referencing. So,
Islam.
Islam.
So we could see that you know, Grand Sheik, Supreme Grand Sheik, Tim Dingle-El, he was ahead of his time. So when he did what he did, he put the works into the resurrection book and he added the prophet's joiner name to the title, to the nationality card. He had to do that because he had to protect the works of the prophet Noble Drew Ali. Man, I had something real good written somewhere and I cannot find it. You know, I just did this off a whim. I got it here. The works expired. Copyright expiration. Protection. Yeah, and it talks about like a copyright notice. When you open up the resurrection book, you'll see the copyright notice, which is that circle with the C with the circle in it. He got that right on the top. It says copyright with the circle C, 1978. You know, that symbol was not always have to be used at one time, but it's recommended to put on any copyright to make sure that you got protection over it, and that's what they call a copyright notice. So, but it's another part in the resurrection I want us to read. Go to page 165 more.
Islam. Islam. Page 165. Coming out the resurrection. Copyright Office, Library of Congress, Washington, D.C., 20559. Office of the Register of Copyrights. Mr. Timothy Dingle-EL, 3911 Bell Avenue, Baltimore, Maryland, 21215. The Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Dear Mr. Dingle-EL, we regret that copyright registration for the material you submitted will not be possible because the copyright notice requirements for work such as this have not been met. Copyright protection is either secured or lost at the time of first publication, depending upon whether or not all published copies contain the required statutory copyright notice. In the case of work such as this, the notice must consist of the word copyright. The abbreviation COPR or the symbol, the copyright symbol, the C in the circle, and must also include the name of the copyright owner and the year date of publication. For example, copyright John Doe, 1974. That since the material submitted appears to have been published without an acceptable copyright notice, registration is not possible. On the separate cover, we are returning the $30 fee deposit value. Please note, once a work has been published without the required copyright notice, copyright protection is lost permanently and cannot be regained. Adding the corrected notice later will not restore protection or permit the Copyright Office to register a claim. The notice for a book or a dramatic composition shall appear on the title page or on a page immediately following. Court decisions indicate that a page is one side of a leaf and that the page immediately following is the verso or back of the title page. Sincerely yours, Herbert O. Roberts, Jr., Head Book Section, Examining Division. Enclosure circular C60 Xerox copy of the title page and page immediately following under separate coverage. Check $30 in due course. It's long. Copyright examiner.
Yeah, it's long. So what that meant is that the original founder, the prophet, they couldn't find the copyright number for him to copyright the book, the works like it was, because it wasn't, because when he did it, it was under common law copyright. So because they couldn't find the copyright registration, he couldn't copyright that, and that's why he had to put the works into the book and then copyright it from the book, because he couldn't copyright it because the old author didn't have a copyright registration number. So one of the masters said that the prophet started the work, but Grand Sheik Dingle-El completed the work. So this is why the resurrection book is the supreme law today, handed down, but it's on a federal level and it has the authority today. So this book is just not a regular book. The authority is in this book and it's protected under copyright protection laws, which is federal according to the Constitution, and it's protected through that TX form, which is through the executor, which was Louise Dingle-El, the prophetess, and handed down through those who is the heirs to that TX form that has the authority. And that's why you have the Supreme Council, who sits in the office of the prophet, who makes a vote and makes decisions based upon that office of the prophet. And remember that the title Noble Jew Ali is a title name that the Supreme Grand Sheik Dingle-El had carried, as well as Supreme Grand Sheik is Louise Dingle-El. So Moors don't have to get spooky when it comes to them hearing that on the name of Grand Sheik Dingle-El is just a title name. And when you further examine the record, you'll see that he had that title name on his social security card. So I hope that Moors got a little clarity on this. This was something that was on my mind because you know I post things on social media, but I do it on purpose sometimes. I want to get the reaction from people. And the hatred that these Moors have for the Grand Sheik Dingle-El Noble Jew Ali, but he was just trying to bring, peace out of confusion and wanted to unite the movement because he has copyright protection over everything that's Moorish under the prophet.
Yeah, it's long, Grand Sheik. I actually got something that I found
all right
pertaining to what you're talking about.
All right, give it to me.
So this is from Stanford University Education. This particular article is written by an attorney, and he has a section that says, "How long does a copyright last?" For works published after 1977, the copyright lasts for the life of the author plus 70 years. However, if the work is a work for hire, that is, the work is done in the course of employment or has been specifically commissioned, or is published anonymously or under a pseudonym, the copyright lasts between 95 to 120 years, depending on the date the work is published. All works published in the United States before 1920, this is important, all works published in the United States before 1924 are in public domain. Works published after 1923, but before 1978, are protected for 95 years from the date of publication. It's not finished yet, but we just add 95 years to, the publication of the pamphlet. And that's how long the copyright that the prophet had, the common law copyright that he had, lasted. So I'm gonna continue. If the work was created but not published before 1978, the copyright lasts for the life of the author plus 70 years. However, even if the author died over 70 years ago, the copyright is in an unpublished work lasted until December 31st, 2002. And if such a work was published before December 31st, 2002, the copyright will last until December 31st, 2047. So
Yeah,
that's just a little bit of information. It's long.
it's long. Yeah, definitely. See, when the prophet did it, he did common law copyright, and at that time, it was 28 years, and that's when will be 1955, 1956. That's why the Grand Sheik Timothy Dingle-El got it in his book, and then later on, the copyright laws begin to change, and that's the degree that you're given.
Right, it's long.
It's long. So, you know, it's a powerful demonstration was that we come from a very powerful lineage when it comes to our lineage. And we us sheiks, the Brooklyn Moors, we mastermind. So once a master give us a word, that's all we need to do the research and put it together with the resurrection book and get an understanding. So it's not something that's we couldn't figure out. Once the masters gave us the word copyright, we begin to look up copyright and we begin to get an understanding. I got what I wanted. So the form TX is a non-dramatical literary works. The form TX is a real workhorse in copyright office form stability. It is used to register all types of written works other than magazines or similar works. There are not that are not intended to be performed before a audience. This is called non-dramatical literature or works for copyright purposes. The literature works is any copyright works consistent of words. The form TX is used to register such works as articles and other individual contributions to newspapers, magazines, newsletters, and other periodicals, but not the entire newspaper. See, you'll notice when you read the resurrection book, there are articles, um, n- n- newspapers, and not entire articles, catalogs, and other um, compilements of information. It says poetry, reference to books, textbooks, technical writings, translations of works written in foreign languages, and written literature, speeches, of leaflets and pamphlets. So this is what the TX form is actually used for non-dramatical works. or literary works. So this fall perfectly in line with the material that's put into the resurrection book according to the rules and usages of the form TX. You understand, Moors? So when you study the TX form, what its purpose and uses is, and you read the resurrection book, the information that's in here, as far as the is not all the complete works that in there is articles, newspaper, letters, magazines, and so forth, is all put into this because it's connecting with the TX form, which is a non-dramatical literary works. So this is the science mode that you know you
We're
recognize.
not. You muffled, Grand Sheik.
Yeah, Islam Grand Sheik, you sound like you
We
underwater.
recognize. Yeah, you hear me now, right?
Islam.
Loud and clear.
I have my hand over the thing. So we recognize Grand Sheik Timothy Golden Dingle Noah Ali as the one who has copyright statutory protection over the prophet's works. And that's why it's mentioned on page 69. So anyone that comes from the house of Dingle-EL, Grand Sheik Timothy Dingle-EL, or Supreme Grand Sheik, we recognize that he has the authority, and those who on that TX form that's passed down has the authority over this, over the prophet's work on a federal level through the supreme law, which is the resurrection book, Islam. So, I really got too much to say more. It's just this was on my heart to give y'all this understanding. And it's for y'all to now do the knowledge and study copyright, read the resurrection book, and understand is that it's more that goes along with this when it comes to a lawful level beyond this copyright. It goes deeper than this. But like we was taught by some of the masters that we not to keep this in. This is not to be secret. This is for the public to know. And with that, I say peace.
Peace.
Islam Wars Peace. So the floor is open for questions and comments. I told y'all from the very beginning of the meeting, what was what, like to be ready to take these notes and really get these degrees because, when the Moore texted me this morning and said he had a demo ready, I already knew what it was. So right now we're gonna open the floor so you can get as much clarity as you can possibly get on the subject matter. You privileged and blessed because you're here in the meeting to be able to ask these questions. While other Moors will be hearing it later and won't be able to get these direct responses. So right now is the opportunity to do that, Islam.
Islam. I just was reading just going through the forms, and even they got even the words is talking about the author's nationality, nature of the authorship, date of death and birth is unique language they talk as far as nationality for authorship, even in this document. So it's different.
Yeah, that's just the standard form that they use for that. Like,
Okay.
yeah, we're not gonna get spooky with that got nationality on the on the document.
Yeah, I'm like
But
looking like why they
yeah,
asking
nah,
these questions?
yeah, that's not what I'm talking about. More is the information that I just gave.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we gotta stay focused on, the knowledge that was being born because I know some of you Brooklyn Moors, you Moorish masters, they're gonna take these degrees that I gave, and then next y'all gonna have, more to add on to it. And that's what makes it so powerful because I can lay the foundation and then more add on to the foundation, like, Sheik Amir, Muhammad, Sadiq, Sadat Ra'el, you know, we lay foundations and we add on and build onto it. That's what makes us so great amongst each other. You know what I'm saying? Because even though I'm not Grand Sheik, I don't know everything. You know what I'm saying? So what we do, we each one and teach one. And I haven't been building on the core for almost a year. I've been letting the other sheiks build because It's not about me. And also, sometimes I want to be a student, not always a teacher, so I could sit back and learn. You know what I'm saying? So, but I was just studying the copyright, and I see Moors on social media. They were all upset because I posted the Supreme Grand Sheikh Timothy Golden Dingle-El Noble Jew Ali, and I said that he mastered all the degrees on Moorish, because during his time he challenged anybody to challenge him. You know what I'm saying? But because he's not here in the flesh no more, they want to throw darts at him. But lo and behold, us Brooklyn Moors are here, and we the chief protectors of the Islamic creed today. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna defend our teachers to the fullest. As long as the Moorish masters, these elders, they begin to give us this wisdom for us to learn and expound on. We're gonna always defend. The Chief Supreme Grand Sheikh Timothy Golden Dingle-El Noble Jew Ali.
Islam.
So it's long.
Yeah. What you asking about, Jeff, is just the nationality of the person that's registering. So if you look at the copyright.gov, it says who can register. Can foreigners register their works in the United States? Any work that is protected by U.S. copyright can be registered. This includes many works of foreign origin, and all works that are unpublished, regardless of the nationality of the author, are protected in the United States. And it goes on more on that, but it's not really nothing special in that.
Yeah, it's not connected to the demonstration. It's standard form.
Gotcha.
So Moors, I got really nothing else to say. I just want to put that on the minds of the Moors. So when y'all got the resurrection book, just keep in mind, more that's just not an ordinary book. That's a supreme law in this day and time. And our charter is a federal charter, according to Article 1, Section 8. And in the resurrection book, he explains the charter. I didn't see those degrees. But he explains the charter in the resurrection book. So I guess we could end this early, Moors, because I got some business at 10 soon.
Islam.
So we could close out. I guess the sheik that closes the meeting out could close the meeting out.
Islam. Islam Grand Sheikh for the great demo. Islam to all the Moors coming and attending our meeting. We'll now close the meeting as we always do, promptly through the Circle 7 and with the prayer. Islam. The Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Know yourself and your Father God Allah, that you may learn to love instead of hate. Every man needs to worship under his own vine and fig tree.